utilizing this contemporary art piece just tells a story, you know, and that's what it is. It's a story of unity.
I think when you learn something that upsets you or excites you or surprises you and it affects you, you share that with people. And I know just from hearing students, and actually I've had conversations with parents where they say how the things that their kids have been learning in school, they're talking about at the dinner table. And that's the best part about being a teacher, is when you can teach things to students and they want to go then and teach that information to someone else.
Metropolitan Community College hosted the 20th annual INTERTRIBAL POWWOW. It was at this time I actually brought one of the brain tan hides that I tanned on my reservation down here to give the college. To give a blanket is significant to Lakota people because it's protection, it's warmth. It protects you from the elements, and this is something that we have been doing for centuries. And so I brought this buffalo robe that I tanned and just presented it to the community college for allowing us to participate on Fort Omaha campus.
And it just went to show that difference in culture, how we had this amazing gift, but really we didn't know what we should do with it. Not in a way that was disrespectful, but in a way that was, well, do we hang it somewhere in the office, or do we hang it where everybody can see it? Is it supposed to be only taken out at some times? So we consulted with Steve, and he suggested, through some discussion with some other faculty and staff, that it would be really great to paint something on this hide, and then it could be a work of public art.
I was explaining the different designs and symbols that go with our painted hides for Lakota people, and that's when Richard HART actually came up with the idea of creating a winter count for Metropolitan Community College in Fort Omaha, in which the hide is actually housed at. So I was like, that's an awesome idea.
The Buffalo Robe project started in the spring when we began writing some grants so that we could fund this kind of innovative, creative way of teaching Native American art history. It's not something that I was an expert in, so I wanted to get some research done. I got to take a research trip and go to the Smithsonian and bring that back and then incorporate it into a class where students would be able to kind of learn from what I had researched and learned, but also learn from an expert and somebody who had lived this lifestyle. So Steve Tamayo, our guest artist, came down and also worked together.
Winter counts actually are pictographs. They're little icons. They explain little symbols. They explain events that occurred in the past, from one snowfall to the next snowfall. That's one winter count year. And so we've been utilizing this method of history, of telling history, for centuries. And so we know by our own symbols and designs that Lakota people, when we were migrating westward, we actually got caught in this big prairie fire in 1762-63, and the little pictograph that is drawn on a winter count is this individual that's running and his legs are on fire. And so from that time on, all the people around us actually called us the Sichungus, which means the burnt thigh people, because of this significant event. And so a lot of times in history we go back and we look at all the anthropologists, the people who study ethnology, but we're not looking at the history of the people written by the people. And that's something that should be done, you know, even more in the classrooms and university level.
For me, it's important to understand the spirituality of a group, because spirituality actually, you know, influences art from the get-go. Ancient societies, that's what inspired artwork. But the biggest thing for me was going through the ceremonies that went along with it, that incorporated Native American spirituality and rituals. So for the buffalo hide, first we washed the hide and we had buffalo burgers, and it was kind of a nice event. We had a smudging ceremony, which an elder came in and he cleansed the robe, and then he had, there were all these children that did drums afterwards. So it was really, it gave me chills actually. You could feel the spiritual depth of this project. So not only did we, without getting religious in school, we were able to honor the spirituality and also be artists and paint on the hide. To me, everything we accumulated, we were able to transfer into creativity.
So this is a practice, once again, that's hundreds of years old. And so explaining this method to students nowadays that are usually hooked up to technology, you know, it was extremely fascinating to watch their reaction to my methods of teaching, you know. And so here comes the old stories of placing the little icons, the pictographs on this hide, you know. And so the students were really intrigued by the whole method, right? And so it was just an amazing class. So they were really committed to it because I knew the time and how much it would take to actually create and do the research. And we set everybody out to go find as much information as possible on the internet, at the library, at the Douglas County Historical Society. Everywhere we went, we tried to gather as much information, then we'd bring it to the table, and then we would vote like a committee and see what was the most significant event to actually be placed on the winter count.
I think there were 5 or 6 people in the class, and so we split up the 150 years between us, and we each did those 20 years or whatever, and then we also helped each other because there were some things that we couldn't find. It was hard to find different things that pertained to the Fort Omaha campus. So if it didn't pertain to that, then we went to the Omaha, and then the state, and then like the United States, and then worldwide.
The first about 5 weeks of class were really pretty typical. And then once we got to the point where Steve was able to come down and be present in our class from there on out, we totally changed focus, and it became so busy, so hands-on.
Yes, I drew the whole time. Anytime anybody had an event, sometimes there were 3 or 4 events that we weren't sure what we were going to do. Not knowing which one it was going to be, I would just start drawing. And then, you know, try to depict that event into a picture that would get across that idea of what the major event was.
It really wasn't until in the mid-60s that the Native Americans around the country were able to practice their rights. And even they were limited on rights until the late 70s. So really, this is new to where we honor that culture. And by spreading awareness and having that open-mindedness and awareness and being able to pass that to others is really, it can make a difference in the world and in the communities.
And with a problem that actually needed to be solved. And I think that's what really drove the students to keep working so hard. They were there the days we didn't have class. They were there after class ended. They were there even after the quarter ended. They kept painting and researching, and it was really amazing to see students want to continue to do the work and want to continue learning. And so it was this amazing collaboration where everybody was kind of led to do what they did best, where their natural talents were. And so everybody contributed and everybody learned and met those objectives, but they did it in a way that let them exercise their own, strengths and benefit in the way that they're going to best learn.